Hey, good evening everybody. Tonight I got something special to show you. I've been away for a bit doing quite a bit of research for this. Tonight I'm going to show you how to make Chole Masala powder. This is a really good spice mix that's used in Indian cooking. And one of the reasons it took so long is, I must have read, 20, 30 versions of this. And everybody said that theirs was the only one, Now, I did inquire with some colleagues at work about this, and they just laughed and said, yeah, that's just the way it is. Everybody thinks theirs is the only way. So, in the spirit of that, I did some experimenting, and I found that I think that this is the only way. So, I hit on one that tastes really good, and as you can see, I've got a lot of spices on the counter here. And I'm going to go through them with you one by one. And yes, there's a big long list of ingredients. And feel free to pause the video because I'll let it on for 10 seconds tonight because it's so long, and I'll probably put it up in 2 pieces. But you still might want to pause it or take a screen capture because you're not going to be able to write it down. Okay, so first of all, you will need some grinding instrument. Now, I've got a tired old coffee grinder here that I saved to the end for the last couple of bits. This would be like the equivalent of a 3-tooth grandpa. I put in 1 chili seed and it's stuck on it, so I save this right till the end when I get tired of the mortar. I do all of this by hand. You get the absolute best flavor. And now, if you are rushed for time and you want to use prepared spices, try to make sure they're fresh. Ideally, you should always be using whole spices for this, except for when it comes naturally ground, like the amchur, which is the dried mango powder that you just get like that. But for the rest of them, I'll go through the list with you now. Now, for people that are used to Indian cooking, please feel free to just skip through this part. It's going to be pretty long. I'm doing this for the people that aren't used to spices. So I'll introduce these one by one. So here are the cumin seeds, coriander, there's the fennel seeds, and I got some nice long dried chilies with stems here, whole ones. And this is whole turmeric, also known as haldi. These are dry as a rock, and you really do need to do these in the mortar at first to break it up, because else you'll just wreck your coffee grinder. And just black peppercorns, whole cloves. And I use 2 kinds of cardamom. I've got the green cardamom here, black cardamoms here, dried pomegranate seeds. That looks like that. Many of you will recognize good old-fashioned whole cinnamon sticks, bay leaves, amchur, which is dried unripened mango powder, star anise, which sort of look like little creatures, and black salt. Now for this, I'll turn on this bright light so you can see it. I'm going to crack up a chunk of this in the mortar. You don't need a very lot of it. I've got actually 1 piece here that's kind of reflective. It's got a really nice crystalline structure that, yeah, I'll probably take this piece and chop it in half just for you to look at that. It's got a very distinctive flavor. It's really high in sulfur content, and it's very flavorful. First order of business is get the spices that need to be broken up in the mortar done here, which namely will just be the haldi, the turmeric, I'm used to calling it haldi, which is the Indian name, and the black salt. The rest will just go dry roast in the fry pan. So you need one little, yeah, they do kind of look like dried fingers, don't they? But they're not. I'm going to take about half of this piece here, so I'll just break that in half. Yeah, that's good. And you can see the nice color on the inside. You know, and turmeric's gotten quite popular because it's got anti-inflammatory properties. And it's sold as curcuma, and people pay a hideous amount of money for it, when all they would have to do is start using turmeric in their cooking. What do you think about that, eh? Okay, so I'll set that aside for now. And let's get a piece of black salt and just break that up. And you can see that nice shiny crystalline structure I was talking about before, and it's got a really nice color. That's a little too big. This is a piece much more suited to our needs tonight, about a teaspoon. So I'll be using that. Let's take the rest out and put it back in the container. And I'll start grinding those two up together and put the rest in the frying pan. And I'll start the heat on low. You always dry roast your spices first, and by keeping it on low I'll have time to measure everything. So start with the cumin. It's 3 tablespoons of this. 2 tablespoons of coriander, whole coriander. 1 tablespoon of fennel. And no, I don't have these labeled because I recognize them by sight. 6 nice red chilies. Now I do snap the stems off before I put them in. 2 teaspoons black peppercorns, just the regular type. 8 whole cloves. And yes, for a spice mix, I make sure I pick out nice ones like that. 10 green cardamom. And again, I pick out nice ones. Yeah, when I went into the store, at first I couldn't find these. I had to ask for them finally. They were near the front. They're quite expensive, so I guess they make sure people don't just walk out with them. 6 black cardamom. Now these ones, when you're grinding them, oops, I dropped one, I better go get that. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Yeah, when you're grinding these, I noticed you don't need to be too fancy about getting all the husks out. Once the seeds are out and most of the husks are ground up, you can just pick out the rest. 1 tablespoon dried pomegranate seeds. It's very important that these are dried and not fresh. Half a stick of cinnamon, and this can be really powerful. This is like fresh Indian cinnamon, and I might even want to go a bit on the shorter side. Okay, get a piece that's about maybe 1 or 2 inches long max. 2 bay leaves, nice big ones. Those look good. 1 star anise. If it's got the stem off, just break it off. Now this is a really beautiful spice, you know. It's got the outer side, and if you'll notice on the inside, it's got these lovely seeds where a lot of the smell and the flavor comes from. So just pop that in. I usually put it in face down. Doesn't really matter. They're all going to be roasting and stirred up. Now it's not strictly necessary to roast the ground spices. The only ground spice I have here for now is the amchur, the dried mango powder, but I am going to spread this over here. Now, somebody looking at my list is probably going to go, where is the ginger powder? Now the answer to that question is that I usually use this to make chole masala, and when I'm doing that I always put in fresh garlic and ginger, so I don't really see the need to add it here. If you're going to be using your chole masala for different dishes, by all means add 1 or 2 teaspoons of dried ginger powder right now. So I will just give that a little stir up with some tongs to get that spread out a bit and the flavors moving. And then I'll get back to the mortar and I'll grind up the salt and the haldi. So I just broken up the black salt a little bit so you can get a look at it. And it's got, I'll zoom in a bit, because it's got these like neat, really shiny purple crystals. And it tastes really good. And that haldy looking like an old dried up skeleton toe. It's really not. See how tough that is? Whoops. Yeah, as I was going to next mention, you may want to cover the mortar with your hand just to make sure that you don't lose any flying bits like that. Okay, that was a good example, and no, I'm not going to recover that. I have enough in here. This is really strong, and you can see that lovely dark color there, right? Now, this is not completely ground up. It's sufficiently fractured that I can throw it into the frying pan with the rest of it to dry roast now. So now that I'm directly watching this, I'm going to turn the heat up a little bit, because that's one thing that's really important. You do not want your spices to burn. Okay, it'll add a really bad flavor and you'll just have to start all over again. So what you do is just stir these up a bit and dry roast these until they smell just amazing. At which point you're going to transfer them to mortar and start grinding them up. So I've been dry roasting this over medium-low heat for about 5 or 10 minutes. Everything smells great. I'm just going to get a small bowl to transfer it to the mortar. Because after all this work, you do not want to start dropping stuff, okay? You can use the tongs for the big pieces and then just get yourself a spoon. As you can see, I've got every little bit in here. Now I'm going to transfer this to the mortar and start grinding. And I do like to generally sit down while I do this. It's quite relaxing. If you want to be old school with this, be prepared to spend realistically 20 minutes to half an hour on this. You can speed it up quite a bit if you've got a better spice grinder than I have, but I still believe that you get the best flavor if you can do most of this by hand. And if you're not used to using one of these things, what you do is you can go right down to the bottom with both hands, and whenever you hear a crunching noise like that, that's good. Something's being broken up. Now, what you can also do is you can go to the side and just apply direct pressure. Get a few seeds up there and just press down on them. And you should have powder when you're done. I'll show you over here. Bit of a better light. And as you can see, those black cardamom are actually filled with seeds that are actually kind of tarry and grind up pretty nice. So here we are about 8 minutes into the process, and it's time to sieve it for the first time. Now, so this is where I got after 8 minutes, but I will admit I'm reasonably strong. If you're not, it may take you considerably longer than this. So what you do is take your pestle out, get your bowl with the sieve in it. I'll just move this to the side. I always do this on a towel because this is a natural stone mortar I've got. It's extremely heavy. I've never actually weighed it. I think it's about 20 pounds or so. And I don't want it to scratch my granite. So, I got that a very long time ago at an Indian market, and I've never regretted paying all the money for that, ever. Okay, so just shake that out. Now what you want to do is you just want to sieve it, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to shake it so that, see that lovely powder in the bottom? Okay, that's your stuff that's ready to go. Once you got most of the fine powders out, what you can do is you can kind of toss it up a bit just to make sure that any of the big chunks that you're shaking around there are going to stay in the sieve. And when you've got about all that you're going to get out, put this back in there, give it one more go, and then what I'll do is, like here, this is just the husk of one of the black cardamom pods, which isn't going to add anything to the mixture, so I'll just pick that out now and keep going like that. Well, there's the second go. That's been about 10 minutes. So what I'll do is get the pestle out. Pour what's in the mortar into the sieve. Yeah, as you can see, the more you go down, the easier it is to turn it without having everything in the sieve go everywhere. So I think one more go and the mortar should be good, and then whatever is left I'm going to pour into my decrepit old spice grinder and see what happens. So that's the last bit. I'll just pop that in the strainer quick and see how much is left to feed to the coffee grinder, if any. Okay, so there's all that in the bowl. This is all that's left. I hope it won't break my spice grinder. We'll find out in a minute. Well, that sounded alright, so let's see what we've got. Looks like it's all good. Don't want to leave any in the grinder. So let's just give that a quick sieve. That should nearly all come out. And whatever does not is just going straight in for a little bit of character. Yeah, I'm happy with that. There's a few fragments of something, but nothing objectionably large. So I'm just going to mix that up and put that in a container I have with a partial batch that I had left over from last night's dinner. So there you have it. That's how I make Chole Masala. Thank you for watching, and I do hope you come and see me again. Thanks, bye-bye.